Welcome to True Crime Stories, where we delve into the darkest corners of human behavior. In today's episode, we explore a chilling case that unfolded on January 17, 2014, in a quiet neighborhood that rarely saw the stirrings of chaos. A grim scene unfolded in the quiet residence of 52-year-old Harold Sask. The local police, prompted by concerned calls from Harold's coworkers regarding his uncharacteristic absence from work, arrived at his home only to be met with a sight that would soon ripple through the community, awakening so many questions and suspicions. Harold's lifeless body, marred by multiple stab wounds and ensconced in a pool of congealed blood, lay stark against the backdrop of his otherwise ordinary living room. The officers, seasoned in the grim routines of their profession, noted the peculiar absence of any signs of forced entry, suggesting a crime born not out of random violence but of a more personal vendetta. Compounding the mystery was the notable absence of Sarah Gonzalez McLinn, an 18-year-old girl known to reside with Harold. To the outside observer, their living arrangement bore the innocent guise of a stepfather and stepdaughter, a narrative unchallenged until the veil of tragedy was lifted that fateful day. Sarah's disappearance in the wake of the murder cast a shadow of doubt and speculation, intertwining her fate with the investigation that was to unfold. The initial probe into Harold's life painted the portrait of a man of faith and enterprise. As the owner of 3 pizzerias, his semblance of success and devotion belied the tumultuous undercurrents that roiled beneath. Employees and acquaintances whispered of a man whose piety masked a predilection for the company of young, attractive females, casting a pall over his character and intentions. As the investigation into Harold Sask's death deepened, the focus inevitably shifted towards Sarah Gonzalez McLinn, whose life story was as complex as the circumstances surrounding the crime. Born into the heartland of America in Topeka, Kansas, Sarah's early years were marked by a simplicity that belied the turmoil that would later define her adolescence. Her education, conducted within the confines of her home, shielded her from the external world but not from the internal demons that would emerge from her harrowing experiences. The tranquility of her childhood was shattered when a neighbor subjected her to abuse, an event that cast a long shadow over her formative years. The trauma manifested in recurrent nightmares, transforming her nights into a battleground where she relived her ordeal. The impact of this abuse was profound, driving Sarah towards alcohol as a refuge from her torment, thereby setting a precedent for a series of escapist behaviors that would recur throughout her life. The dissolution of her parents' marriage added another layer of complexity to her already turbulent existence. The divorce not only fragmented her family but also eroded her sense of stability and belonging. The aftermath left her estranged from her father and embroiled in constant conflict with her mother, further exacerbating her feelings of isolation and unworthiness. It was within this context of vulnerability and upheaval that Harold Sask entered Sarah's life. Her employment at his pizzeria not only provided her with a semblance of structure but also introduced her to Harold's duplicitous nature. Despite the veneer of success and piety that Harold projected, his predilections for young employees and his subsequent grooming of Sarah unveiled the darker aspect of his character. Harold's approach was methodical and manipulative, positioning himself as a paternal figure in Sarah's life while simultaneously isolating her from her family. He offered her rides, gifts, and a listening ear, all under the guise of benevolence. Yet this facade masked his true intentions, as he exploited her trust and naivety to bind her closer to him, urging her to keep their relationship a secret from her mother and the world at large. As Sarah's dependence on Harold grew, so too did the complexity of their relationship. What began as a seemingly innocent bond gradually morphed into a situation fraught with manipulation and control. Harold's initial kindness was revealed to be a strategic ploy, as he slowly but surely entwined Sarah's life with his own, setting the stage for the subsequent events that would lead to his untimely demise. The tapestry of Sarah Gonzalez McLinn's life, already marred by early trauma and familial strife, took a darker turn as Harold Sask's true intentions unfurled. The transition from a perceived guardian to a manipulator marked a period of profound turmoil in Sarah's life, leading to a series of events that culminated in tragedy. As Sarah reached the age of 18, the dynamic of her relationship with Harold underwent a sinister transformation. The man who once presented himself as a father figure began to reveal his coercive nature, demanding sexual favors in return for the support and care he had provided. This exploitation represented a gross betrayal of the trust Sarah had placed in Harold, further complicating her already tumultuous life. Harold's manipulation extended beyond emotional coercion. He exploited Sarah's vulnerabilities to an even greater extent by introducing her to a variety of illegal substances. This not only deepened her dependence on him, but also placed her in a state of compromised autonomy, making it difficult for her to resist his advances. The cycle of abuse and manipulation became a pervasive force in Sarah's life, eroding her sense of self and autonomy. The psychological toll of this abuse was profound. Sarah, once described as kind and considerate, underwent a drastic personality change. She became increasingly isolated and aggressive, a shift that was as alarming as it was heartbreaking. The once caring sister and daughter retreated into a shell of mistrust and anger, distancing herself from those who might have offered her a semblance of solace. In a particularly disturbing manifestation of her psychological distress, Sarah engaged in acts of violence against animals, a stark departure from her previously gentle nature. This behavior, witnessed by Harold without any intervention, underscored the depth of her despair and the extent of her psychological unraveling. The final chapter in this descent into darkness was marked by Sarah's calculated plan to end Harold's life. Armed with sedative pills, she waited for an opportune moment to act. Her meticulous planning was evident in her methodical approach to drugging Harold, ensuring his incapacitation before committing the act that would forever alter the course of her life. The murder itself was a chilling culmination of the accumulated abuse and manipulation Sarah had endured. In a desperate bid for freedom, she took Harold's life, an act that was as much a cry for escape as it was a testament to the depths of her despair. The writing of the word freedom in Harold's blood on the bathroom wall served as a haunting epitaph to the tragic series of events that had unfolded. In the wake of Harold Sask's death, the investigation swiftly pivoted towards understanding the sequence of events leading to the grim discovery in his home. Central to this inquiry was the enigmatic figure of Sarah Gonzalez McLinn, whose sudden disappearance added layers of complexity to the already convoluted case. The initial phase of the investigation focused on piecing together the last known movements of both Harold and Sarah. Detectives meticulously combed through evidence, seeking to reconstruct the timeline of events. Their efforts were soon rewarded when they uncovered a series of calls made by Sarah, not from her cell phone but from various payphones, tracing a path that suggested a deliberate attempt to evade detection. Surveillance footage from convenience stores where the payphones were located provided the first visual confirmation of Sarah's movements post the crime. The footage revealed a solitary figure, seemingly adrift, underscoring the sense of urgency and desperation that characterized her flight. The breakthrough came when park rangers, operating in the vast expanse of Everglades National Park, Florida, stumbled upon Sarah asleep in Harold's car. This discovery, made 11 days after the murder, brought a sudden and dramatic end to the manhunt. The subsequent search of the vehicle unearthed not just personal belongings but also a loaded gun, illegal substances, and an axe, painting a troubling picture of Sarah's state of mind and intentions during her flight. Upon her arrest, Sarah's demeanor was one of resignation rather than defiance. Presented with the evidence amassed against her, she offered no resistance, instead choosing to confess to the murder of Harold Sask. Her confession was detailed and deliberate, recounting the calculated steps she took to sedate Harold before ultimately taking his life. Her narrative was punctuated by a chilling admission of writing freedom in his blood, a macabre symbol of her perceived liberation from the cycle of abuse and manipulation she had endured. The legal proceedings that followed were marked by a contentious debate over the nature of Sarah's actions and her motivations. The defense posited a narrative of a young woman pushed to the brink by relentless abuse, arguing for leniency based on her troubled past and the psychological torment inflicted upon her by Harold. In contrast, the prosecution painted a picture of premeditation and malice, emphasizing the calculated manner in which Sarah planned and executed the murder. The trial culminated in a verdict that would seal Sarah's fate, finding her guilty of first-degree premeditated murder and sentencing her to life in prison, with the possibility of parole only after 50 years. This sentence, while closing one chapter of the legal saga, opened another, as it sparked a broader conversation about the intersection of abuse, mental health, and the criminal justice system. However, the story did not end with the gavel's final strike. The aftermath of the trial and the revelations that emerged in its wake prompted a reevaluation of the case, leading to significant developments that would alter the course of Sarah's future. In the months and years following the trial, a groundswell of media attention and public discourse began to cast the case in a new light. Scrutiny fell upon the evidence presented at trial, particularly the lack of emphasis on Harold's abusive behavior and its impact on Sarah's psychological state. Advocates and legal commentators questioned the fairness of a judicial process that seemed to have overlooked crucial context regarding the relationship between victim and perpetrator. Central to the renewed debate was the concept of justice and its application in cases involving individuals with complex psychological backgrounds. The narrative that emerged painted Sarah not solely as a calculated murderer but as a victim of prolonged abuse who reached a tragic breaking point. This perspective gained traction, leading to calls for a reassessment of her sentence in light of the mitigating circumstances. Amidst the growing clamor for justice tempered with mercy, legal avenues were explored to revisit Sarah's sentence. The efforts culminated in a significant legal development in 2021 when Sarah reached an agreement with the prosecution. This agreement acknowledged the complexities of her case, leading to a reduction in her sentence from 50 years to 25 years, with the possibility of parole. This marked a rare instance of the legal system adapting in response to a deeper understanding of the nuances of human behavior and the impact of trauma. This chapter reflects on the broader implications of Sarah's case, delving into the societal and legal discourse that surrounds cases of this nature. It examines the evolving perceptions of justice, the role of mitigating factors in sentencing, and the capacity of the legal system to accommodate revisions when new evidence or perspectives come to light. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this true crime story, please give it a thumbs up and drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more content. Your support means a lot to us.